What's going on, YouTube? I just spent the last few weeks working on my car right here in the driveway, and it's right here behind me. I just took it to the alignment shop to get it aligned, and there's still an issue with it. I was basically going to try to make this car last longer so that I didn't have to get a new one. But it's also my birthday. That's why I'm wearing a nice t-shirt. And it's been an interesting day so far. So, I spent the last few weeks in my garage putting on new parts on my car, which I'll show you on the screen. And been slaving away. I've been working on my own car for a few years. And I decided to go ahead and do a whole new front suspension on it. And I also replaced some parts on the rear suspension. And I had quite a few additional projects to also complete, such as the AC. The AC went out last year. But now I'm not going to be doing any of the other projects because a noise developed on the vehicle. There seems to be some sort of maybe damage on the inside of the differential, the front differential, which is part of the transaxle. And, that's going to be something like that's going to be an expensive repair. So it kind of sucks that I just put $1,000 into working and slaving away in the garage and getting this done just for there to be some other issue. The car does have about 200,000 miles on it. I've had it for 11 years or 10 years. And it's probably time to go ahead and get a new one. I made my decision today. I'm going to keep the Mazda, but I'm also going to be purchasing a new vehicle. And I'll probably start selling some vehicles because part of me does enjoy working on them. It's been an interesting birthday. I didn't expect to spend my birthday like this. I actually took 4 days off of work in order to kind of get on the road because I like to road trip. I was gonna maybe go fishing, maybe go on like a fishing trip, see if I could hunt down some sturgeon or some catfish or something, some big game. But now I can't actually get on the road, and now I'm glad I did not catch a flight to go somewhere else, even though I have the money, because now I'm going to end up having to push that money towards a new vehicle, a new daily driver. And I still drive this one. It's still drivable and all of that. But I no longer trust it long term like I have been for the past decade. And then a few minutes ago, I was at the store, and another thing that's been on my mind was just wondering, like, do I need to shoot my shot more? The whole dating market thing has been a mess. And, a really hot guy pulled up next to me. He went into the store pretty fast, and I decided to just stay where I was at, parked. I hadn't gone into the store yet so that I could shoot my shot, so that I could hit on this guy and maybe get a phone number. And so I just kind of very quickly made a decision. I saw him. I was like, you know what? When he comes back out, I'm going to shoot my shot. It's my birthday, whatever. I'm prepared for anything. I've been through plenty of frustration already with the car. I don't even care if I get rejected. And honestly, that went pretty well. I did not get a phone number. This guy was married to a woman, as you might imagine. I always wondered, a lot of the advice out there is to shoot your shot, to take risks, to take action and whatnot. But there's so much more to the dynamic than just that, because like a straight guy, for example, can just basically shoot his shot, and if he gets rejected, because maybe he's not attractive. He gets rejected because the girl's a lesbian or something, and that's kind of rare. But when you're a gay man or a bisexual man and you hit on another man, the dynamic's different, because now you don't even have to be ugly. You don't have to be a bad person. Your game doesn't have to be bad. The other person could just not be gay or bi. And that's what happened today. This guy had a wife. So I'm also neurodivergent. And so one of the things that I found out, as other neurodivergence report, if you like to read other people's stories about their life as a neurodivergent person, even though I technically fit the conventionally attractive mold, I'm somewhere in that range. That's not enough because a neurotypical person can smell a neurodivergent. So if you are neurodivergent and you have maybe struggled with dating throughout your life, maybe you struggle to make friends or anything like that, your neurodivergence is probably a component that you have not considered. You're probably autistic, or you probably have ADHD, or some sort of neurodivergence, and they can absolutely sense that. I'll never forget being a kid and just, wanting to make friends. And I'll never forget going to the lunchroom in Chicago, Illinois, and sitting down with some other kids, and then those other kids getting up and leaving and moving to another table. Talk about a rejection. That hurt more than any rejection of me talking to a guy, was those other kids getting up when I was a kid. But in hindsight, because I only recently, in the past few months, discovered that I have ADHD and that I'm neurodivergent. And I've only recently discovered that my neurodivergence is actually the thing that people can sense. And I didn't find that out until I read other people's stories about it. And, we all have the epiphany once we find out that we are neurodivergent. We're like, oh, people actually don't want to be around us because the way we interact with the world is very different. A neurodivergent person, although they mask a lot to try to fit in, the reason that a neurodivergent person masks is because they're a very authentic person. Their brain wiring prefers authenticity over everything. That's why a neurodivergent person like myself struggle with fake work culture. That's why I struggle with, I've never been fired before, ever. But I have left many, many jobs because there are things that we do in culture that are unacceptable, that we do in jobs that are unacceptable. To me, it's unacceptable to promote somebody who I defeated in every metric when I deserve a promotion, when I'm the one that's actually generating money for the company, when I'm the one that understands the strategies, when I'm the one that's actually going to go get the work done, like quick, like I'm talking like that. To me, that's unacceptable. And I see that happen all the time. I see companies do that all the time. And that's very normal to people. And it's so normalized that, we have career coaches and influencers and motivational speakers that all like to discuss why that's normal, and why, and giving you strategies on how to navigate the workplace. We have whole systems built out of a system that is corrupt. And that's just one system. That's just one thing that a neurodivergent person notices. Another thing that a neurodivergent person notices is inauthenticity in friendships. What's another thing that people always talk about when it comes to having a social life? One of the things that you hear the most, and you hear very often about having a social life, is to go out and be more social. And, throughout my life, I've stopped and wondered, it's like, am I not social enough? Do I have social anxiety? These kind of things that you might expect if your social life isn't what you want it to be. And what I can honestly say now is that when I look back, I'm like, actually, for a neurodivergent person with mild social anxiety, I'm actually quite social. I can think of many, many times where I'm very social. And I've lived in 4 different states, and every time I move to a new state, I'm quite social. I always get the itch to go out and socialize, and it really doesn't appear that I have any social anxiety. But the reason I'm bringing this up is because one of the things I've realized is that what we are told about how to be social, really, if you're neurodivergent, really has nothing to do with you. Your brain wiring is different. Other people can sense it. And no matter how much socializing you do, you're not going to be that same social butterfly. If I had a clone, a twin, who is neurotypical, he would significantly outperform me in the social department. Even if he had some sort of like generalized anxiety disorder, he would still do better because he's not neurodivergent. I've talked to many people over the years, tried to make many friends. I'll never forget, I met this girl at work, actually, when I used to live in Colorado. She was lesbian. I'm gay. We hit it off. We had some good conversations. I got invited to a party one time, and then boom, she's just gone. Like, I try to make plans. She doesn't follow through with them. And then I've met many people over the years where they'll meet me, make plans, and then they'll flake. So a lot of the stuff we hear about how to socialize and how to get better is like, it's not about your social skills. It's really about what is the collective doing? What is everybody doing that's contributing to socialize? Because if you're going to go out and socialize, if you're going to go out for friendships, if you're going to go out to shoot your shot for romance, does that matter if you're in an environment in which people don't respond well to that? You know, if you're going to go picking berries in the forest, does that matter if there are no berries in the forest? Does it matter if you went to the wrong forest where there's no berries? Right? It doesn't matter if you're good at picking berries if you're in a forest that has no berries. And that's exactly what's going on in the United States. The United States is quite bankrupt when it comes to social life. And this is predictable. I understand how this happens. I do a lot of studying on human development, cognitive development, and the advancement of the human species, the spiral dynamics model, socialism, psychology, all of that. It makes perfect sense that, because basically what we've done is we've traded like convenience and safety and individualism. We've traded these things for socializing, spirituality, connectedness, etc. And so, of course, the country feels bankrupt. That's why you see so many people wanting to leave. Notice when you think about the people that want to come to the United States, 9 times out of 10, these people are trying to escape things where they don't feel safe. They're trying to have more opportunities to make money and be an individual. So they come here for the things that are prominent in the United States. And then the Americans that are in the United States, what do? I see plenty of people on YouTube who leave, right? I watch a guy that lives in Japan, one that lives in Africa, one that lives in China. We leave because we have had plenty of the things that I mentioned, and now we want more spirituality, more socialism, more connectedness. So this isn't a condemnation, because I know a lot of you guys like to get on here. I see you guys in other people's videos like, oh, you're just complaining. Oh, it's just your game. Oh, it's this and that. But you see, that's just shit that you learned from somebody else. That's just stuff that gets repeated in culture, because we also have a huge conformity problem. And so that's why you and many people just repeat things that other people say. You have no fresh perspectives. You haven't deconstructed anything and put it back together. And I do that all the time. So that's why I'm able to see things, because I'm extraordinarily honest about what's going on. I know that my neurodivergence affects my socialism and my ability to shoot my shot. And I know that my odds are slightly higher than a neurodivergent that's not conventionally attractive, right? I understand how all these dynamics play into it. And it's because I understand that I'm able to give a more honest representation. I know where my faults are. I know what I bring to the table and what I remove from the table within a social context. But what I'm saying is that other people, especially the neurotypicals at large, which make up our country, they don't know that. They're not really aware of what they take off the table. They're not really aware of what they contribute or put on the table. So I turned 33 today. And I just decided to come out here and reflect. I said I was going to show those parts. Let me see. See if I can do this. Yep, so here's a stack of various parts, some old ass parts. These parts have been on there for, I don't know, like 14 years. I think the car is 14 years old. And it just ended up, I ended up doing, you see guys on YouTube, if you follow car content, sometimes these parts, these suspension parts, they get rusty. I lived in Illinois as well, in Colorado, so I had some rusty parts. I had to pull an angle grinder out to cut some shit off the car. I torched all sorts of parts on this car over the past few weeks. And, I've been doing this in the middle of me working, so, and I do commute to work, and so A lot of times I got to put a little bit together, go to work, come back, put a little bit more together, etc. But the move for me is going to be new vehicle, and for social life, I'm not sure. I'm just the possible returns. You know, it's kind of like, right? Would you buy a fucking car that can't be fixed and then try to sell it for a profit? Or would you take on a client that has no money but the service is going to cost you $1,000 in supplies? You know, it's just like that with social life, because it's like, well, what kind of investment am I really going to get back? It's like, at most, you're going to get some mild interactions. You're going to get some people that don't know how to hold a conversation. You're going to get people who are interested in you, right? And that part's normal. Basically, you're going to get just like very little returns for a lot of work put in. So the whole phrase that you get in, what you put out, is not really true when it comes to social life, because there's two people dancing in social life. There's at least two people. In order for it to be social, there's got to be at least two. So if you're neurodivergent, I just want you to consider, one, that you're not crazy, and that it does take a lot more to get what you want, and you probably won't get it because there's a variable that you can't control, which is extremely significant, and that other variable is other people. You know, and many times in my life, and recently, I just moved to this state that I'm in now. And as soon as I moved here, some young guys that play soccer, you know, invited me to play soccer. And so I've been doing that on and off. And now it's gotten to the point where they look for me to be playing. You know, if I miss a game or something, they're like, "Oh, where were you at?" That type of thing. And it's very nice to be included and considered, and to kind of have that camaraderie, to kind of have those acquaintances. But that was carried probably by the way I look, right? I have a nice body. I probably look like an athlete. They're like, "Oh, we should get this guy on the soccer team. He's pretty cool. He's kind of funny." You know, these people weren't able, the person that originally invited me wasn't able to detect neurodivergence. And so I got in. But what I was going to say was that a lot of times the social situations you do end up in are just the ones that just so happen to pop up. It's not even the ones that you're trying to get, right? I've been in many relationships where the guy was pursuing me heavily, right? And so that's why it worked out, because he was actually, the other person was finally doing some work. The friendships that I have, the other person was finally doing some work. It was finally somebody who wasn't flaking. You know, I made a new friend recently too, and we've been hanging out at least once a week, sometimes twice. And, you know, and this guy will hit me up, right? Like, it's like, oh, wow, I didn't realize that people still hit people up to do things. And I get that this is like my own little world. This is my own perspective. This is my limited perspective on what's true. But what I'm asking you to do is, if you're neurodivergent, is to investigate what you're doing, and then investigate what other people are doing. What is society doing? How many people come and approach you to be friends? How many people come and ask you out on a date? Right? That probably doesn't happen that much, even if you're conventionally attractive, right? People are terrified. There's no social skill, and not just skill, but there's no one has the nerve to do it, because you can really be social even without any sort of official skills. You can just talk to people. Like, I just shot my shot today randomly, and if I wanted to just turn it on, I can make it look like I'm really good at social skills, because I'm really good at creating that illusion for you as a neurodivergent person. But we're almost at the 20-minute mark, and I'm going to end the video here. Stay tuned. I've been really bad at posting videos, and I'm not going to promise that I'm going to post any more, because I might not, because I'm neurodivergent. I have ADHD. Something else, some shiny object is going to catch my attention, and then I'm going to forget all about it. Ooh, look, a squirrel.